Hey there, Nocturnes! Welcome back to English Me. Dito sa Nocturnal Sage, a guide for those left in the dark. Ako nga pala ulit si Kuya Ed, ang inyong class president. Noong nakaraang meeting with Sir Jeremy, diniscuss niya ang tungkol sa anong approach ulit yun? Yes, the sociological approach. Sa sociological approach, nag-focus tayo sa relationships ng mga characters sa isa't isa. Kung bakit naging magkagalit sila o mas lalo silang naging malapit sa isa't isa. Yung sa example natin noon, si Romeo and Juliet, yung kanilang relasyon, ang kanilang pagmamahalan, yung naging dahilan kung kaya't nagkasundo yung kanilang dalawang pamilya na magkakagalit sa istorya. Ngayon naman, pag-uusapan nating approach ay may kinalaman naman sa buhay. Kung sa sociological ay relasyon, dito sa biographical approach, klaro lang, hindi pala characters, hindi yung buhay ng characters, kundi yung buhay ng gumawa ng iyong binasa o pinanood. Kaya nga, biographical approach. Kasi kaninong biography? Pag biography kasi, base sa tunay na buhay yan. So, ang totoo doon, kung hindi karakter, kasi yung karakter, bunga yan ng imahinasyon ng gumawa. Dito, magpo-focus tayo sa istorya ng gumawa ng characters na to. Kaya samahan nyo na ako sa ating klase with Sir Jeremy para malaman natin kung anong ibig sabihin ng biographical approach. Oh, English me! Oh, English me! Gusto kong matuto ng Ingles pero hindi alam kung paano. Good evening, class. For tonight, we shall talk about the biographical approach. So what is the biographical approach all about? Tracing the connection between the author's life and his or her works. If in the previous approach we focused on the characters, now we're zeroing in on the author's life. In application, let's analyze the life of Albert Camus and its connection with his three major works: The First Man, The Stranger, and Myth of Sisyphus. Though he has written more than just these three. So in using the biographical approach, the first thing that you have to do is to gather facts about the author that you're evaluating. For instance, Albert Camus was born in Algeria on November 7, 1913, but he died around in the 1960s due to an automobile accident. Even if he was born in Algeria, that's in Africa, he's of French descent. His father got killed in action during World War I, and he is left with his elder brother, mother, grandmother, and paralyzed uncle. Now, when you gather facts about the author, you may already map out how they're manifested in his works. So, for instance, The First Man. In the story The First Man, we can see this reflected in Jack Cormorey's life. Now, Jack Cormorey is the main character there, who apparently personifies Albert Camus due to his background, also born in Algeria, French, and his father, even in the story, he got killed during wartime, and he's left with his elder brother, mother, grandmother, and paralyzed uncle. Though I'm not really sure if in the story it's actually his elder brother. If I'm not mistaken, it's somewhat like his cousin. But anyway, there's a male partner there. Another fact is his hobbies. He's into sports, especially soccer and swimming. And we can see that in The Stranger, where there's a scene in which the main character swims. He's in the beach, and it's where he kills the Arab. The other set of facts: he's interested in absurdism, which is living a life that accepts the lack of any fixed meaning or higher purpose. Now, this video is not about absurdism per se, but just a quick run through. It's believing that it's possible to live a hopeless life. Even if you don't believe in God, even if you think that your life is an accident, even if you don't have any higher meaning to hold on to, it's still possible to live joyfully through the struggles that you're encountering. Now that struggle is one such struggle is the confusion that you may be undergoing right now. So despite that confusion, you embrace the confusion actually, not this just despite, but you embrace the confusion because you know it's the only way to live your life. Because that's your decision, you want to live, and if accepting the lack of answers is the only way, then you would bite at it. So that's being absurd. And Camus was also skeptical of what he may have thought the stifling adherence to Christianity. So at that time when he was alive, he noticed that in some people, they get too attached to what they believe. Especially they're derived from Christianity, they think that it's the end all and be all everything. It's the only way to judge everything by. But for Camus, that's not supposed to be the case. We should judge actions based on morals. That's what he believed in, based on what he wrote. And then lastly, he loved theater, especially acting. He was actually part of a theater group. What is important in the biographical approach is that we look for manifestations or examples in the work that we're evaluating. And in this case, let's evaluate his essay, The Myth of Sisyphus. In The Myth of Sisyphus, he explains concepts like philosophical suicide. Now, philosophical suicide is the idea that you try to eliminate your memory or awareness of the absurd, the contradiction between the meaning that you want and the world's inability to give it, so that you can remove that thought away from you. You cling to Christianity, to belief systems, and that is for him philosophical suicide. Now, that's the manifestation for the first two facts, his interest in absurdism and skepticism towards religion. And finally, the last fact is his love for theater. He mentions in a certain section of the essay about the actor as an example of living the absurd life. Now, the actor only has about 3 hours of exposure, and after that, he will be forgotten. Now, despite the short limit of time on stage, he gives his all to the role. He gives justice to it, even if he knows that it's all pretend and that he may not be remembered for what he's doing, especially as a live theater actor. Now that's in comparison to movie actors, in which there's some higher level of posterity, of being remembered eternally because it's recorded. Therefore, after a certain number of years, it can be preserved and viewed by future generations. But the life of the theater actor is fleeting and very temporal, that you can only witness it at the time he or she is on stage. Now, when he or she is gone, maybe you could go after him or her and then interview, make friends with him or her. But that, I think, is not a popular idea to float. So that's how his essay is influenced by his experience with theater. So how about you? Who's a writer that you believe you can use to evaluate his or her work? So 2 steps: just get the facts and then look for manifestations in the works. So that's it for today's class. We will tackle another approach. So for us to do that, keep surviving in the dark. Oh English me, oh English me, gusto kong matuto ng Ingles pero hindi alam kung paano. Sino ang magtuturo? Gusto kong matuto na talaga. Oh English me. Word of the night. Renegade. Noun. Ang first 3 na makakapag-comment sa baba ng meaning at ng kanyang original sentence ay magkakaroon ng special mention sa susunod na episode. Kaya ano pa hinihintay nyo, Nocters? Mag-comment na kayo sa baba bago mag-Friday upang masama sa editing ang inyong posts. Kung nagustuhan ninyo ang episode na ito, pakilike naman dyan sa baba. Kung may mga katanungan o suggestion, mag-comment na lang din. I-share nyo naman ang video na ito Mas maganda yung buong playlist nga sa mga kaibigan yung nagtitake ng English for academic and professional purposes. Kasi alam nyo naman, sa panahon ngayon ay kanya-kanya ng diskarte sa pagkuha ng reliable reference. Sumali din kayo sa ating private Facebook group, The Nocturne Space, kung nahihiya kayong mag-comment publicly sa baba. Para naman may avenue kayo para pag-usapan yung mga topics na hindi nyo mapag-usapan sa regular dinner table o conversations with friends kasi kakaiba masyado yung gusto mong pag-usapan. Tapos alam mo naman na yung uungkatin mong topic mag-aani ng parang alam mo yun, yung you're so weird na reputation. Kung ayaw mo ng gano'n, at least sa Nocturne Space, makakamit ka ng mga taong kagaya mo na gusto pag-usapan yung mga hindi masyado na pag-uusapan na dapat naman talaga napapansin. Yet sa lahat, mag-subscribe kayo para hindi kayo mahuli sa anumang updates ang i-release. New episodes every Tuesday at 8 PM. Ang Nocturnal Sage ay nakatuon sa 4 na larangan. Self-conquest yung una. So kung may mga pinagdaraanan kang dark emotions kagaya ng grief or sadness, gusto mo ng kaagapay sa pagdaan sa mga ganito emosyon, matutulungan ka namin dyan. Pero walang psychiatric advice, yung tipong may papainumin kaming gamot sa'yo. No, walang ganon. Kasi di naman kami lisensyado clinical psychologist. Pangalawa ay communication. Kung gusto mong gumaling kuwari sa public speaking, na balak namin gawa ng playlist, yung oral communication, at saka gusto mong i-overcome yung mga bagay kagaya ng stage fright, o kaya gusto mong magsalita na hindi na babagot yung mga nakikinig sa'yo, pwede ka namin tulungan dyan. Basta iparamdam mo lang sa amin na kailangan mo ng ganong advice. At saka talagang nagtitiwala ka sa amin. Isa yun sa mga kondisyon. Bukod yun sa AYAP na playlist. Bukod sa reading and writing in English, public speaking din. Mapa-English yan o mapa-Filipino kasi pwede nyo naman i-apply yung conventions ng public speaking sa kahit anong lengguaheng iyong gagamitin. Pangatlo ay leadership. Kung ikaw ay bagong halal na student council officer o di kaya isang young professional na bagong promote at gusto mo matutunan yung basics na paghawak ng tao, pwede ka naming bigyan ng basic. Panghuli ay expansion. Kung naghahanap ka ng paraan para lumago bilang isang professional o bilang isang estudyante, tapos hindi sapat yung matataas na grades o kaya mataas na sweldo o sahod kasi hindi naman sa marka, sa numero nakukuha yung tunay na kasiyahan. Hindi lang dun basta nagtatapos. Indikasyon yon na ikay nagtatagumpay, may nararating yung iyong ginagawa, pero hindi nangangahulugan na yung matataas na numerong iyon ay magdidikta sa kung ano mararamdaman mo sa pangmatagalan. At kadalasan yung kasiyahang gusto nating matamo ay nakukuha sa kalikasan ng ating ginagawa. So kung natatagpuan mo ang sarili mo bilang isang nagtatrabaho lamang at nahihiwalay mo pa yung iyong pagkakakilanlan sa iyong ginagawa, may separation between life and work, dapat questionin mo na kung ikaw ba'y self-fulfilled sa iyong ginagawa. Sa expansion, okay na aspekto, pwede ka naming tulungan para malaman kung ano yung mga skills na kailangan mong matamo para magampanan o magawa yung bukod tanging activities na nababagay sa iyong disposisyon, sa iyong life mission. So it's more on knowing about yourself, and other than that, yung mga kasanayan o kakayahan na dapat mo pang hasain para marating yung ganong klaseng self-fulfillment. Salamat muli sa panonood. Ako si Kuya Ed. Kita-kits sa susunod na episode ng English Me dito sa Nocturnal Sage, a guide for those left in the dark.